The Los Angeles sun beat down mercilessly that Tuesday afternoon, casting long shadows across Rodeo Drive's pristine sidewalks. Leonardo DiCaprio pulled his worn baseball cap lower over his eyes as he stepped out of his Tesla. He hadn't planned on shopping today. The visit to his Environmental Foundation's offices nearby had run longer than expected, but he had spotted something in the window of Haute Couture, one of Beverly Hills' most exclusive clothing boutiques, that caught his attention. Leo smiled to himself. He enjoyed these moments of anonymity, dressed down in his favorite faded jeans, well-worn sneakers, and the threadbare olive jacket he'd had for nearly a decade. It was comfortable, familiar, a small rebellion against the constant pressure to maintain the polished Hollywood image. The coffee in his hand was still hot, warming his palm through the recycled paper cup as he pushed through the heavy glass door of the boutique. The interior was exactly what one would expect from a high-end store in Beverly Hills, minimalist design with clothes displayed more like museum pieces than merchandise. The lighting was perfectly calibrated to make everything look just a touch more expensive than it already was. A single sales associate stood behind a sleek counter, scrolling through his phone with a bored expression. Two other employees were rearranging a display of silk scarves, chatting quietly. None of them looked up when the bell above the door chimed. Leo wandered toward a display of sustainable cotton shirts. They were simple but elegant, exactly the kind of environmentally conscious fashion he tried to support. He sipped his coffee, examining the fine stitching with his free hand. "Can I help you?" The voice came from behind, sharp and unwelcoming. Leo turned to find a man in his early 30s wearing an impeccably tailored black suit. A small name tag identified him as Derek Harrington, store manager. His eyes swept over Leo's appearance with unconcealed disdain. "I'm just looking, thanks," Leo replied easily, used to being underestimated when out of the spotlight. Derek's lips thinned. "Sir, this is a luxury establishment. Our pieces start at 4 figures. Leo nodded. "I understand. I'd like to see that sustainable cotton collection you have displayed." The manager crossed his arms. "Listen, we're not a warming shelter, sir. There's a Starbucks down the street if you need somewhere to finish your coffee." A few customers who had been browsing nearby glanced over, embarrassment and secondhand discomfort evident on their faces. One whispered something to her companion, her eyes widening as she stared at Leo. Leo remained calm, though a flicker of disappointment crossed his features. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'd like to see those shirts, please." "Look, buddy," Derek's voice grew louder, clearly hoping to intimidate Leo into leaving. "I don't have time for this. We don't offer try-on sessions for people who clearly can't afford." "Oh my God, Derek, that's Leonardo DiCaprio." One of the employees who had been arranging scarves suddenly gasped, nearly dropping the merchandise in her hands. The transformation was immediate and almost comical. Derek's face drained of color before flushing crimson. His posture shifted from aggressive to deferential in the span of a heartbeat. "Mr. DiCaprio. I had no idea, please forgive me." The manager's voice had risen several octaves. "It's an honor to have you in our store. Please, allow me to show you our newest collection. Everything is on the house, of course." Leo took another sip of his coffee, using the moment to compose himself. He had grown accustomed to this particular brand of social whiplash over the years, the way people's treatment of him changed dramatically once they recognized him. It never ceased to fascinate and disappoint him. "That's very kind," he said quietly, "but I'm still just looking." By this point, the news of his presence had spread throughout the store. Other customers were stealing glances his way, while the sales staff had shifted into high gear, bringing out their most exclusive pieces. "We have a private shopping room in the back," Derek was saying, practically tripping over himself. "Complete privacy, champagne service. Our designer just released a limited edition collection that hasn't even hit the floor yet." Leo observed the manager's desperate attempt to salvage the situation with a mixture of amusement and sadness. How differently might this interaction have gone if he had arrived in a chauffeur-driven car, wearing designer clothes and his most recognizable smile. "Actually," Leo said, placing his coffee cup on a nearby counter, "I think I'm done here." Derek's face fell. "But Mr. DiCaprio, please, I can't apologize enough for the misunderstanding. Let us make it right. Anything in the store, on the house." Leo glanced around the boutique. The other customers were now openly staring, some holding up phones discreetly. This was exactly the kind of scene he had hoped to avoid. "That's not necessary," he said firmly. "But there is one thing." "Anything," Derek insisted. Leo nodded toward a young woman in a cleaning uniform who was quietly mopping the marble floor near the entrance, head down, trying to be invisible amidst the commotion. "What's her name?" Derek seemed confused by the question. Elena, I believe." Leo reached for his wallet and pulled out several $100 bills. "Please make sure Elena receives this. And perhaps consider that the value of a person isn't determined by what they're wearing." With that, he turned and walked toward the exit. The store had fallen completely silent, the weight of collective embarrassment hanging in the air. As he reached the door, Leo paused and turned back. "Those sustainable cotton shirts, they're very well made. You should be proud to carry them." Then he slipped out into the afternoon sunlight, pulling his cap lower over his eyes. Outside, Leo took a deep breath of the warm California air. The encounter had left him thoughtful but not angry. In his years of fame, he had learned that people's reactions to him said more about them than about him. Celebrity had a way of magnifying both the best and worst in those around him. He checked his watch. He was running late for a meeting with his production company about an upcoming climate change documentary, work that mattered far more to him than designer clothes or Hollywood status. As he walked back to his car, he made a mental note to have his assistant send some information about his environmental foundation to haute couture. Perhaps some good could come from the awkward encounter after all. The incident at haute couture might have ended there, a private moment between an actor and an overzealous manager, if not for Elena, the cleaning woman. That evening, she posted a simple message on her Instagram: "Today I learned that true class has nothing to do with money. Thank you, Leonardo DiCaprio, for your kindness and generosity." The post quickly went viral, with entertainment news outlets picking up the story. By morning, #TrueClass was trending, with thousands sharing their own encounters with celebrities, both positive and negative. Derek Harrington awoke to find himself unwittingly infamous. The store's social media accounts were flooded with comments, many criticizing the elitist treatment of customers based on appearance. Several of DiCaprio's high-profile friends and colleagues had weighed in, sharing similar stories of being judged by their casual attire when trying to shop incognito. The owner of haute couture, a shrewd businesswoman named Vivian Chen, recognized both the PR disaster and the opportunity it presented. By noon, she had issued a public apology and announced a partnership with DiCaprio's Environmental Foundation. The store would donate 15% of proceeds from their sustainable fashion line to ocean conservation efforts for the next year. She also announced a new store policy: staff would undergo sensitivity training, and the company would hire more diverse employees from various socio-economic backgrounds. Derek was not fired. Vivian believed in second chances, but he was required to volunteer weekly at a local homeless shelter as part of his continued employment. It was a lesson in humility that would ultimately change his perspective on wealth, appearance, and human dignity. As for Leo, he was both amused and touched by the public response. His publicist had called, asking if he wanted to make a statement, but he declined. The incident had never been about publicity for him. Instead, he sent a private message to Elena, thanking her for her kindness and offering her tickets to the premiere of his next film, plus a scholarship opportunity for her daughter through another foundation he quietly supported. 2 weeks later, Leo returned to haute couture, this time with a purpose. He was dressed similarly: jeans, worn jacket, another cup of coffee in hand, but he was accompanied by 10 formerly homeless individuals who had successfully completed a job training program. Each was being fitted for an interview suit, courtesy of an anonymous donation. Derek, noticeably humbled, greeted each person with the same respectful attention he would give any customer. When he reached Leo, he offered not obsequious flattery but a genuine apology. "I've learned a lot these past weeks, Mr. DiCaprio," he said quietly. "About making assumptions. About treating people with dignity regardless of their circumstances." Leo nodded, a small smile playing at his lips. "That's all any of us can do, learn and grow. And please, call me Leo." As they walked through the store, helping the job seekers find suitable attire, Leo reflected on the strange alchemy of celebrity, how it could sometimes transform an uncomfortable moment into an opportunity for genuine change. He had long believed that his platform came with responsibility, but sometimes the most impactful moments were the small, human interactions that reminded everyone, famous or not, of their shared humanity. One of the job seekers, a woman in her 50s who had been living on the streets just months before, emerged from a fitting room wearing a smart navy blazer. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at herself in the mirror. "I look like someone who matters," she whispered. Leo smiled. "You've always mattered," he said. "The clothes are just catching up to the truth." Across the store, Elena was now working as a sales associate, having been promoted after the incident. She caught Leo's eye and gave him a small, knowing nod. Sometimes, change came from unexpected places. Sometimes, it came from being seen, truly seen, by another person. Outside, paparazzi had gathered, somehow tipped off to Leo's presence. But for once, Leo didn't mind. Let them take pictures of this, of what mattered. Let them capture a moment of genuine connection in a world too often divided by appearances. As flashbulbs popped through the window, Leo turned his attention back to the woman in the navy blazer, helping her select a matching scarf. In that moment, he wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio, Oscar-winning actor and global celebrity. He was just Leo, a guy in a worn jacket, trying to make a small difference in the world. The Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation added another initiative to its portfolio in the months following what social media had dubbed the haute couture incident. The new program, called Beyond Appearances, provided professional attire and job interview coaching for individuals transitioning out of homelessness. The first major donor to the program was, surprisingly, haute couture itself, which had experienced an unexpected surge in business after the publicity. Vivian Chen had transformed the PR crisis into an opportunity for her brand to lead a meaningful conversation about inclusion in luxury spaces. The store now prominently featured models of diverse backgrounds and body types in its advertising. A small sign hung near the entrance, "All who appreciate beauty are welcome here." For Leo, the incident became a touchstone, a reminder of why he had fought so hard to maintain some semblance of normalcy despite his fame. His ability to move through the world relatively unrecognized, at least until someone looked closely, gave him insights that many celebrities lost. It kept him grounded in reality rather than isolated in the artificial bubble of Hollywood elitism. The media coverage eventually faded, as it always did, but the impact rippled outward in ways both seen and unseen. Elena's daughter began her first semester of college, studying environmental science with dreams of one day working for the very foundation that had provided her scholarship. Derek discovered a genuine passion for his volunteer work and eventually joined the board of the shelter, using his connections in luxury retail to secure donations and job opportunities for residents. 6 months after the incident, Leo found himself back on Rodeo Drive for a different reason. He was meeting with several high-profile designers who had agreed to create sustainable red carpet looks for the upcoming award season, outfits made from recycled materials, vintage fabrics, and ethically sourced textiles. His goal was to use fashion's most visible platform to demonstrate that sustainability could be synonymous with luxury. As he walked past haute couture, he noticed the window display had been completely redesigned. Gone were the intimidatingly perfect mannequins with their impossible proportions. Instead, the display featured photographs of real people, diverse in age, ethnicity, and apparent economic status, all wearing the store's designs. In the center was a simple message: fashion is for everyone. Leo paused, a small smile playing at his lips. He was still wearing his favorite worn jacket, now somewhat famous in its own right, and carrying his ever-present coffee. But this time, as he pushed open the door, every staff member greeted him with the same warm welcome they seemed to be offering to all customers. Elena, now the floor manager, approached with a genuine smile. "Mr. DiCaprio, welcome back. How can we help you today?" "Just Leo, please," he reminded her. "And actually, I was hoping to finally look at those sustainable cotton shirts. I've been needing a new one." As Elena led him through the store, Leo noticed a framed photograph on the wall behind the register, a simple black and white image of hands passing a coffee cup. Below it was a quote: "True luxury is treating every person with dignity and respect." Leo recognized the sentiment as a paraphrase of something he'd said in an interview after the incident had gone public. He hadn't expected his impromptu shopping trip to spark any kind of movement, however small. But that was the strange power of celebrity. Sometimes the most mundane actions carried unexpected weight. "We've made some changes," Elena explained, following his gaze to the photograph. "Good ones, I think." Leo nodded. "I see that." As they reached the display of sustainable clothing, now significantly expanded, Leo reflected on how a single moment of discomfort had transformed into something meaningful. It wasn't world-changing, perhaps, but it was a reminder that small interactions mattered. How we treat the person serving our coffee, cleaning our spaces, or standing beside us in worn clothing, these daily choices reveal our character far more than grand gestures or public donations. "You know," Elena said as she showed him a particularly well-crafted shirt made from organic cotton, "my daughter wrote her college admission essay about that day. About watching someone famous be kind when they didn't have to be. About learning that real power isn't about making others feel small." Leo felt a surge of emotion he hadn't expected. In the grand scheme of his career, the films, the awards, the platform he'd built, it was easy to forget that sometimes the most important legacy came from the smallest choices. A moment of patience when frustrated. A gesture of respect when disrespected. A simple acknowledgement of another person's humanity. "I'd like to buy this one," he said, selecting a simple shirt. "And I'd like to pay full price, please." Elena nodded, understanding the significance of the gesture. As they walked to the register, Leo noticed Derek helping an elderly man in well-worn clothes select a tie for his grandson's wedding. There was no condescension in his manner, only attentive service. Outside, the Los Angeles sun continued its eternal shine over Rodeo Drive. Celebrities came and went. Fashion trends cycled through their perpetual seasons of relevance and obsolescence. But something fundamental had shifted in this small corner of the world, a reminder that beneath the veneer of exclusivity and image, what matters most is how we recognize the dignity in one another. As Leo left the store with his purchase, a teenager on the sidewalk did a double take, then nudged her friend excitedly. "That's him," she whispered. "The homeless guy from the memes who turned out to be Leonardo DiCaprio." Leo smiled to himself as he passed. Of all the roles he had played in his long career, the homeless guy who was actually Leonardo DiCaprio might be the most unexpectedly meaningful, a character who had, in his own small way, reminded people to look beyond appearances. And in Hollywood, where everything was about appearances, that felt like an achievement worth more than any golden statue on his shelf. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoy this video and learned a lesson. I would be grateful for your likes. Also don't forget to subscribe and comment on the video. See you soon.